Now, the premiums in Mumbai are at skyrocket rates. What do you think about the premiums that are levied on the projects? Are they proportionate to the city's growth?
I strongly feel that the premiums in Mumbai are way, way higher. Proportionate or not is a different scenario, because you see, we can't say that the entire development of the city has to come from only premiums of the redevelopment projects or development of the projects. Infrastructure projects are developed also through funding from taxes being collected, property tax being collected, GST revenues earned by the government, various other parameters. Cities development premiums, if you compare it even to places like Hyderabad, which is just 500, 600 rupees a square feet. In our case, it ranges from 6,000 to 10,000 rupees a square feet. It's actually 1/3 cost of the project. In fact, government is indirectly 1/3 partners with no other input other than giving us permissions. And 1/3 is probably the landowners and the rent and the corpus, and the 1/3 is the construction cost. So in terms of costing, 1/3 cost is only premium, which for any city across world makes it slightly unsustainable, and the entire impact comes on the buyers. And today, imagine a generation like you who wants to buy a flat for yourself, and the cost of Bombay keeps rocketing up and up. You're not going to find it sustainable. Yes, the government made some efforts. For the last 3 years, they've not increased the reckoner rate. They brought in, during the COVID pandemic, the 50% discount on the premiums. They brought in the stamp duty reduction. And they realized that their revenues increased 3x. This is exactly my point, that if you reduce the revenues, construction gets a boost, your revenues gets a boost. So you have to see the overall picture. I mean, people feel that, they're benefiting the developers, and that's why you should not reduce it. I mean, there's always that living room discussion, अरे गवर्नमेंट ने पॉलिसी निकाला, डेवलपर को फायदा हो जाएगा. What they don't realize that end में उनको ही खरीदने का है flat, and the cost will come down if these costs are brought down.
Do you think other cities other than Mumbai in India having this benefit of not huge premiums will help the other cities boost more compared to Bombay in future?
Just compare other cities like Hyderabad, Mangalore, Indore. I feel the number of high-rises or the development coming in Hyderabad might surpass Mumbai by another 5 to 8 years. I mean, that's a huge blow to a city like Mumbai, which had an infra, which already had so much development happening, and getting defeated by a city which is just started construction last 7-8 years.
Hyderabad has a concept of unlimited FSI.
Yeah.
That
They
place,
have very simple rules. Keep 20-meter open space. But you try to understand. Hyderabad is a greenfield development majorly. And
Okay.
Mumbai is a brownfield development. We have our own set of challenges. What we need to do is bring down the cost of development. And that's how we'll be able to get back to the momentum.
Understood. We are talking about how Bombay had a huge infrastructure, is also having infrastructure, but is the infrastructure's growth is at the pace of the same development space of Bombay?
So I feel there's a lot of infrastructure development. I mean, if you see Coastal Road, Trans Harbour Link, Metro, Mono, a lot of effort is being made on public and private transportation system. But there is a need for much more smarter interconnectivity. So if you go to a city like Japan, it will tell you, if you get down at the bus at this moment, the next train is available at this, the next cab is available at this time, and all of them are interconnected through a singular app. That's a smart city building. We need interconnectivity between various transportation. We need more public transportation. I think even a city like Mumbai needs more walking space for pedestrians, cycling space for for citizens. That all is still missing. In fact, we had the cycling track coming up over the pipeline, but it's again shelved for some political reasons. Somewhere, politicians after the elections should get over the process of infighting and promote cities development.
So currently seeing the huge traffic in Mumbai and also taking hours to reach from one point to another, and such all huge infrastructure projects that are going on are might change the way of transportation in the future. But do you have anything to say on or advice for the government to keep up with the infrastructure development pace?
I just said that infrastructure is being developed, and I'm no expert on infrastructure overall. But as a planner for the city, what can be done by the government is to promote more mixed-use development. All over the world, we have mixed-use development where you have commercial, residential, hotels, offices, all on the same tower. Today, for a city like Mumbai, those regulatory changes need to be brought in, because we do not want people to keep traveling from one point A to point B. If we can transport from within the same tower, it makes it much more easier. We have to formulate new rules, or we need to be much more flexible to allow mixed-use development. And that might also help to reduce the load on the infrastructure that's coming up.
Shifting the discussion a little bit, the approval process in Mumbai is a very tedious and a time-consuming process compared to other cities in the whole world. What differences you can say or talk about the differences in approval process in other countries?
The Mumbai redevelopment process, or the approval process that has been brought in under ease of doing business, has improved a lot. In fact, we used to rank 142nd in 2014 on the ease of doing business. Today, we are 63rd since 2019. And we have maintained that position for a long time now. And that's a huge jump. I mean, a lot of effort has been brought in to bring transparency into the field under ease of doing business and bringing in auto DCR and all that. But understand the challenges compared to the other cities like Singapore, Hong Kong, South Korea, Denmark, New Zealand, where the approval process is much more transparent and predictable. What do we mean by predictable? We have something called concessions. So we've made rules that you need to have so much open space, but you can get lower open space by paying premiums. Now that concession is standard, and we call it 6B as a regulation. The best part is 9 out of 10 projects have the same concessions. Why not just make it into a rule? If you standardize the concessions to a lot of extent, the approval process will reduce. The other big challenge is the number of department NOCs that we need to bring in. For example, coastal management zone, MOEF from an environmental perspective, high-rise committee, high-power committee. We have mono, metro, railway NOCs. Why don't we just standardize the rules and bring in a single window application as part of the regulatory process where we don't need to go to so many departments? I mean, how difficult can it be? I mean, all of them ultimately are approving, right? Under certain pretext. Make those pretexts as rules. As simple as that. But we do not want to do that because sometimes we get more premiums out of it, or sometimes we always say it's case-to-case basis. But 9 out of 10 cases have a similar parameter, and it can be standardized. And if that is done, I think we may jump from 63rd to the top 5 much easier, and we'll also bring down the cost of development process.
Let's hope this happens soon enough. So what advice would you give to the government in making the city more beautiful?
I think when the government started, they from DCR, that is Development Control Regulation of 91, they brought something called GDCR, the General Development Control Regulation. And then it got transformed to DCPR, Development Control and Promotion Regulation. But in the process, the GDCR had some unique features of artistic development of the city. For example, we had every corner plot had to leave a part of the corner for an artwork installation. I think that needs to be brought in. We have to learn from something which has already been done in the past by the British and during the British era, like the DN Road. We had the covered promenade. We have rains. We have sun. We have much harsher climate. If we have covered walkways, it will help the citizens to go through that, and we can provide FSI benefits. There are countries where the open spaces between buildings are used for public. If we can promote more public use of private space, it's going to enhance the way the city looks. The transit-oriented development recently introduced does have some features to do that, but it is still to be implemented. So if the government can bring in much more incentives to make private spaces as public spaces, I think we will double, triple the amenities for the citizens of Mumbai.